Hey, everybody, I'm Lisa Brennan.
And I'm Justin Trice.
Welcome to Crime of the Arts, a true crime podcast that peeks behind the curtain to shine a light on the dark and untold truths of the creative arts.
From film set mysteries to celebrity murders and heists, these two theater nerds will usher you into the unknown.
I'm going to tell you the story of Turn Off the Dark.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. And I'm going to tell you a story I'd like to call, Oh, Hugh, How Could You? And there's a lot of Hughes. It's not Hugh Hefner. It's going to be about Hugh Grant.
We'll get
Grant. Into that.
Yeah. Fancy British man. Turn Off the Dark, if you don't already know, is a Broadway show about Spider-Man. Yay!
Yes.
So it has been 12 years since one of the most monumentous nights of Glenn Berger's life. He was already an established off-Broadway playwright and children's television writer, but on November 28th, 2010, a musical he had scripted had its very first view at the Foxwoods Theater in New York. And it was shaping up to be an international smash. So in 2005, Glenn Berger was hired to work a Broadway adaptation of Marvel's Spider-Man. And in theory, this should have been a surefire success. The superhero craze was not only just beginning, and Spider-Man was at the forefront of it, but in 2002, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man had grossed over $800 million in the global box office.
Yes, it did. And that's the thing. The moment you said Spider-Man, and like even before the MCU came to full fruition, like I remember Sam Raimi's 2002 Spider-Man. And whenever you say Spider-Man 2, everybody automatically thinks of Tobey Maguire, but they also think of that song, They Say That a Hero Can Save Us. Like, I'm not necessarily a Nickelback fan. I'm just saying, no, like that song is embedded in my brain and it was fire. But
Fire. And then the 2004 Spider-Man came in really close matching to that $800 million with an M million dollars. So the so-called comic book rock opera circus was described as the most technically complex production of all time, with 27 sequences of characters flying through the air or engaged in aerial combat. Its friendly neighborhood title character had been a beloved pop cultural icon for 5 decades and had just been featured in 3 Hollywood blockbusters. Do you have a favorite Spider-Man, Justin? You must.
Oh my goodness. I
know it's a loaded question.
It's a loaded question. I treat my Spider-Man like I treat my James Bonds. Like, there's something for everybody. And I got to type, no disrespect. And I'm going to get a lot of crap for it. No disrespect to Tobey Maguire. He was the first. But listen, I have always been about Andrew Garfield. That man was Spider-Man. He was fucking Spider-Man. And I know a lot of people are going to listen to this and go, how dare you? Like,
no way.
Because nowadays everybody's into
Tom Holland.
And I was rooting for Tom Holland to be cast. On paper, he's perfect. I liked his background for Billy Elliot and all these musicals. He's very acrobatic, but it's just like his movies bore me. They're like Spider-Man. They're really Iron Man featuring Spider-man. And it's kind of weird to me.
But he didn't have a fighting chance against that.
I know.
You can't come in the middle of an Avengers movie and then decide you're going to have your own thing. I love Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I don't know how you don't find them entertaining. I see what you're saying about them being Iron Man 0.5.
They're entertaining, but my God, Andrew Garfield. And it's so funny now that people saw the new No Way Home. And there's people that have never seen Andrew Garfield's films because they felt it was too close at the time that it came out. The past Spider-Mans. It was only 5 years past.
That was it? It was 5 years? That was it?
Yeah, it was only a 5 years difference.
It takes that long for them to fucking put the second one out. So why would they? Whatever. Yeah, it almost felt like they recast. Like it was not its own thing.
Acting wise, I thought he nailed the assignment of what it was to be Spider-Man, and then his chemistry with Gwen Stacy and the fact that they showed that. The second Amazing Spider-Man's not his fault. That's a studio thing, but he was still great in it. He might have been too cool for school for Peter Parker, or that could have just been his hair. I don't know. He was like skateboarding. He had tall hair.
It's totally his hair. You're totally right. I mean, yes, he's got that like quiet, cool guy thing going on. But Andrew Garfield nailed it.
Yes.
Tom Holland comes in second for me.
Okay.
Tobey Maguire comes in last.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, he just felt too old for me to be Peter Parker. It was just not believable.
Yeah, he wasn't old Peter Parker. And just as a former Queens native, I'm just over here like, why do you sound like you're from Kansas sometimes? I don't know. I understand your old Aunt May raised you, but you were coming off just, even in a new film, like he was like just the grandpa. He's like, back in my day, grandpa. I'm like, what is going on here?
When I was Spider-Man, we had to walk 46 feet in the snow. Did I ever tell you the story about how I met Tobey Maguire?
No. What?
I met Tobey Maguire. When I was working, I used to be the person in the airport that made you take your shoes off and stole your water bottles. Mm-hmm. I was a TSA officer, and I worked in Kennedy Airport, and there were celebrities that came through all the time. I met the guy who plays Dr. Octopus.
Alfred Molina. That's my dude, but yes.
No, he shouldn't be your dude because he was a dick.
No, don't ruin this illusion for me.
No, Alfred Molina was horrible. Horrible, Justin. Horrible. I cursed him the whole time I watched him in No Way Home. So, yeah, he was like, well, don't you know who I am? And I was like, I don't give a fuck who you are. You're Dr. Octopus. He's like, I've done other things. I swear to God, he was so mad. I was in
Species. Yeah. No, not that that's like the peak of his career, but yeah.
Attention, yeah. Alfred Molina. I don't care. So, yeah, I met Tobey Maguire. I was standing at the machine that you put your bags in, and someone is like chucking bags at me, right? Like full suitcases, like, and I'm like, what the fuck? So I go over, ready to fight this person, and I look over, and it's just Baby Blues and Tobey Maguire. And I was like, hi, Tobey Maguire. Could you please not throw your bags at me? And he was like, sorry, my bad. He was his beautiful wife and kids, they were coming in. And I guess he was just, any parent, but he happened to be a celebrity. So I was like, excuse me, I know exactly what your first and last name is. Knock it off. He was very nice, even though he was very stressed. But yeah, I met Tobey Maguire and Alfred Molina. So it seems like a superhero musical is, of course, an absolutely ridiculous idea. And as such, Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark should have been treated as a bit of fun escapism rather than an intense melodrama based in Greek mythology. Unfortunately, that was not the vision of Julie Taymor, who became captivated with an original villain based on Arachne, the god of spiders.
Yeah.
So Julie Taymor was the director of Turn Off the Dark. This led her into running battles with Marvel for literally months, with Avi Arad, the chief creative officer at Marvel Entertainment, refusing to sign off on adding this character to the world. The arguments grew increasingly heated, and after producer Tony Adams died from a stroke, his colleague David Garfinkel took over the project that was already seemed ill-fated and continued to try to mediate the differences.
I can definitely see that. And for those who don't know who Julie Taymor is, she back in the late 90s she transformed a Disney animated film that's everyone's childhood favorites, more or less, into one of the biggest musicals of the world. It was The Lion King.
The Lion King, yeah.
So she's already known for that, but she's also known for just, I don't know, her directorial style is, for me, very stylized. Sometimes it's too over stylized, but she also did Across the Universe. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, with the Beatles. It was the Beatles movie where it's just like a living kind of music video.
Fucking love that movie.
It was all right. I respected what she did with the imagery next to the music, but I just didn't really know what was happening half the time.
How did you not? Because it's the fucking 70s and everyone's on drugs, Justin. Of course you didn't know what was going on.
I understand, but yeah, the moment you add her.
Okay, one of those scenes in that movie where I'm trying to think of what song they used. It's when the brother is going to war. Mm-hmm. It's the most insane scene I've ever seen. It's just so well done. It was nuts. It was so good.
Yeah, Julie Taymor has very specific ideas. And again, she's already technically, she's already part of like the Broadway elite and all these other things. So if Julie Taymor has an idea, no matter how far-fetched it might be,
it holds a lot of weight.
The
The Lion King is head and shoulders above anything that they've ever created out of Disney's. Marvel went radio silent. A shakeup was in the works at Marvel Entertainment, with Avi Arad growing tired of the behind-the-scenes conflict there. And in May 2006, he quit, setting himself up as an independent producer. And it took months for the script to find its way to Marvel's new creative officer, David Maisel, who signed off on it at last. But even he had reservations. If left unchanged, he warned the musical would adversely affect Marvel's brand due to the level of sexuality and extreme adult themes that were inappropriate both for the character and the musical. But of course, his note went unheeded.
Of course.
The songs for this play were written by rock and roll royalty U2's Bono and The Edge. I can't ever say it without sounding like a jerk. The Edge.
The Edge.
Does he introduce himself? Hi, I'm The Edge.
I don't know. I feel like anytime I saw the two of them related to the show, they always introduce Bono and like the spotlight dims near The Edge. I don't feel like The Edge actually.
He deserves it because his name is The Edge. First name V, last name Edge. So the director was Julie Taymor, who had masterminded the record-breaking stage adaptation, like we said, of the Disney Lion King. Turn Off the Dark couldn't go wrong with a pedigree like that.
Mm-hmm. Or so we thought.
Speaking to BBC's Culture, Glenn Berger, again the writer, remembers how strange it felt to be unveiling something that he and his collaborators had been devising together for years. He said, we were opening the door either to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory or some sort of slaughterhouse, which I feel like is very appropriate. It's an accurate description. The feeling you get when you've created something from nothing, and I'm sure you've probably felt this too, is you're kind of like bearing your soul in no way like anything else.
100%. You are completely open and vulnerable. You're exposed.
As a creator, you allow yourself to be vulnerable in a way that no other profession demands of you. And it's terrifying. It could really be terrifying. The show relied on complicated aerial stunts in which the performers were suspended from wires. And so the first preview was bound to keep stopping and starting as technical hitches were addressed. And for those not in the theater world, the first preview is kind of the first time you stand up your show with an audience that's going to understand that there's going to be hitches, that you're going to have to stop and start. You know, in live theater, standardly, you just keep going. You just keep it moving.
Exactly.
But this is the time for you to kind of work out the kinks. And when you have something that's so highly technical, you're bound to have serious issues.
Correct. And your preview is bound to be like a month period or more, like with a show like this. It's not like, oh, we previewed for just 2 days and now the real show's out. No. That's exactly what a first preview was for. You invite the people who will understand that this is the time for shit to go wrong. So when you open, you've got it all solid. But everything was going relatively smoothly until the last seconds before intermission. Berger said that there was a flourish and Spider-Man flies off through the audience towards the balcony. And for some reason, he just stopped. So you had a Spider-Man dangling feet above the first 2 rows. He's like, it was the worst possible position because no one could reach him. One of the crew members fetched a stick and was prodding him, and that didn't even help. Oh my goodness.
It was like a live action Spider-Man piñata. But we knew by the end of the night, well, that's the worst that's ever going to happen. We'll keep improving it, and it's going to be perfect by the time we open in January. Boy, was he wrong.
I was going to say, we'll see about that.
I was just listening to one of my favorite podcasts. It's called Obsessed with Disappeared. It's on the Obsessed Network. Check them out. They're hilarious. Also theater folk. Mm-hmm. And the 2 hosts are actually both Broadway stars. Ellen Marsh, Joey Taranto. He was just talking about how he was in Turn Off the Dark.
That's pretty wild.
Wild, right? I wanted to email because I've talked to him on Instagram before. I want to be like, can you come on my show? The show quickly earned a reputation for accidents to the extent that the New York State Department of Labor conducted safety inspections. That's outrageous for a theater production. Mm-hmm. During rehearsals, stunt performers Brandon Rubendell landed on a ramp that was perhaps 5 degrees out and wound up on crutches.
Brutal.
And a month later, Kevin Aubin attempted the same stunt and slammed into the stage, breaking both wrists. There can't be probably many things worse than breaking both of your wrists.
Exactly. And just imagine, the recovery for that too, because the thing about the show, because I've seen the show, you have the main guy playing Peter Parker, Spider-Man, but whenever they're creating the act of web slinging, he's doing his whole acrobatics on one side of the stage. And then they have like 7 to 8 other stunt actors of Spider-Man web slinging out of the other sides to make it look like he's zipping through in and out of the city.
Right, yeah. So the different stunt actors give you the illusion that Spider-Man just went from this place to this place to this place, and it's all the same Spider-Man. But
yeah,
it's really 27 different actors.
It's really 27 people. So when that guy did that dive, that wasn't the main guy per se. That's another Spider-Man. The main guy's going to come out saving the girl. But at this time, again, that's Spider-Man.
Did they ever let the lead really go through all of that? I feel like that's foolish.
Well, I would imagine they did. I mean, he was doing a lot of insane web slinging and being launched out of the stage and stuff like that, too. So
stage manager's nightmare. I have a irrational fear of things falling during a production. And I guess it's not really irrational because the fear comes from experience.
Yeah, no, completely. Non-acrobatic musicals, people are falling, things are falling, people breaking legs, toes.
Yeah. Justin and I have worked on many productions together. But two in particular come to mind. One was Into the Woods, which is a very large musical production. Sondheim, huge. We had this chicken, and it was built on top of a remote-controlled car, and then someone blindly drove it around from the wings. And this chicken launched itself off the stage into the first row of the audience. And I just remember being on my headset going, oh, shit, the chicken's in the audience.
Someone get the audience.
Someone get the chicken. Someone get the chicken. And then the second time, I jinxed myself because I was saying in rehearsals, I have a fear that something is going to go wrong with these cans of soda. They were like the mini cans. And sure as shit, it's a scene where everyone's trying to calm down from being all pissed off, and it's awkward and it's silent, and everybody gets their own can of soda. And then somehow the last one hanging in the plastic falls into the first row and starts hissing. And it's pissing soda on the audience member sitting in the front row. And I was just sitting in the wings going, no way. Did that just happen?
That was hysterical.
And it pissed soda for like a solid 2 minutes.
But you know what? Listen, we're always talking about actors exposing themselves and connecting with the stage. Everybody that moment in that fucking room was so connected. They're like, we're all looking at the can roll. The audience is looking at the can roll. We're all staring in anticipation if this is going to burst on the person in the first row. We're all trying to stay focused. Everybody, yeah, it was a good time.
You're right, though. Everyone was connected. Maybe it wasn't in exactly the perfect way, but it was still awkward. It still fed into the awkward moment that we needed.
100%.
I digress. Yeah. It was hilarious. Most shocking of all was an actor named Christopher Tierney fell from a 30-foot platform during preview showings, fracturing his skull, suffering internal bleeding, and broken ribs.
Oh my gosh.
I remember seeing the footage of this fall, and it's nauseating.
I saw the footage, yeah.
Whatever angle it's from, it's not right. The accident was made all that more horrific because he happened to fall at the same time that a pre-recorded scream was playing, meaning the audience would have been unsure whether this was part of the act or not. Later, actress Natalie Mendoza suffered a concussion when she was hit on the head by equipment. Oh, that's another thing that happened in one of my shows. When she was hit on the head by equipment, another stunt performer suffered trauma to his leg after his ankle was caught in a hydraulic stage lift. Gross. That the stage bit him. That's what that sounds like to me. Soon, actors began to wonder whether Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark was cursed, which we've talked about before. Definitely Into the Woods is a show that is somehow cursed. No matter where you do it, when you do it, how you do it, people are always getting hurt.
Always.
So before the first preview, Turn Off the Dark was already being gossiped about as a troubled show. Financially, though, the show was an absolute disaster. The recession in 2008 scared off private investors so that in August 2009, the production found itself $20 million short of cash. But the bad luck didn't end there. In the months that followed the first preview, the original opening was repeatedly postponed, while Berger and his colleagues dealt with bruising, embargo-defying reviews, sackings, injuries, and countless technical snags. In May 2011, Turn Off the Dark had become so synonymous with theatrical disaster that a headline in The Onion, which I'm sure you all are familiar with, it's a satirical newspaper, appeared to be only slightly exaggerating when they stated nuclear bomb detonates during rehearsals of Spider-Man the musical. I mean, it pretty much was a nuclear bomb all on its own. The show did finally have its opening night in June 2011, but by then its fate had effectively been sealed. And though its run continued for another 2.5 years, when it closed in January 2014, it had made a loss of $60 million. That's a Broadway record.
Yeah, it was just hemorrhaging money. And I mean, the show itself, it cost so much to do because I saw the show. I saw like the 2.0 version after the incident of this man falling off the platform. The only way to describe the show, me personally, is it was like Cirque du Soleil inside of a stage. Like they retrofitted the stage to be Cirque du Soleil capable. You know, you're thinking you're going in to see the classic tale of Spider-Man. And as soon as the show starts, it's just like this classic, like Trojan music. It's like, and like all these women rolling off of silk. They're physically coming off the ceilings, rolling out of silk. I'm well aware. Well, no, they were the worshippers to Arachne, the goddess, the spider goddess. But yeah, that's the thing. Like the show just had a lot going on. They did like Sinister Six within there, and there was even a woman that was wearing a suit that was all mechanical moving blades. Like it was giant blades. Her whole body was moving. Yeah. So a lot of money was just being poured into this.
And the Sinister Six. So you had like 5,000 villains in a 2-hour play.
Yeah, they decided to put them in the middle of the show later on.
So confusing.
and it was like the bootleg Sinister Six, because you recognize some of these folks, but now we got some new people. Like this guy was shooting bees out of his mouth, and some of it was done via puppetry, some of it was on the screen. Their set was a giant storyboard too, so like it was such a technical, mechanical show. It was just hemorrhaging money. I really think it would have done better in a platform of Vegas or something, like a Vegas residency.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's the expectations.
Yeah.
Match that a little bit better than what Broadway is capable of. Mm-hmm. First of all your Broadway theaters are small.
Correct.
Right. So no matter how you get it, you're not going to get that arena feel that you would need for something like this.
Exactly.
So a surefire hit had become a legendary debacle. Glenn Berger said, "I'm philosophical about all of it. It might end up on my obituary, and I'm not happy about that, but I'd rather have Spider-Man on my resume than the Iraq War." Wonderful.
Oof.
Berger went on to write a candid memoir called Song of Spider-Man, which grips like a murder mystery novel. And as you read it, you scan the pages for clues that might account for the bloodbath. I didn't know there was a book, and I already have it on my Kindle. Just
That's
downloaded
hysterical.
it. I'm definitely going to read it. There are several clues right at the start of the story. The musical was announced in the summer of 2002. Think about that. So 2002 was announced. It didn't even open until 2011. That is the longest fucking rehearsal process I've ever heard. So it announced in the summer of 2002 to capitalize on the success of the first Spider-Man films. Bono and The Edge signed up soon afterwards. But when the producers approached Julie Taymor, she replied that she would only take the job if she could find a narrative or something that sparked her imagination. And I get that. You know, if someone came to me and said, we want to make a theatrical production of Iron Man or any other superhero, I would squint at them and be like, what the hell is this show actually going to be about?
Right.
So something that sparked her imagination was the Greek myth of Arachne, a woman who beat Athena in a weaving contest and was transformed into a spider by the jealous goddess. Marvel's chief creative officer objected, obviously. Arachne had nothing to do with Spider-Man, and her inclusion as a major character would be entirely wrong. But Taymor stood her ground. And like we said, everything she did held weight because she fucking made The Lion King.
Exactly.
So what if her concepts were gloomier, more sexualized, and yes, more pretentious than Stan Lee and Steve Ditko's comics or Raimi's films? Her greatest triumphs came from her refusal to compromise. And if Arachne was going to be out, so was she. Another passage in Song of Spider-Man that might get your spider senses tingling came a few pages later. Bono and The Edge were so unfamiliar with Broadway musicals that apparently a producer had to burn them an educational 4-CD compilation of, quote, 60 songs from the last 60 years of musical theater.
You know what? That actually makes a lot of sense because when I saw the musical, first off, like there was only 2 songs, and I'm like, wow, this captures the essence of Spider-Man, and this sounds fucking good. And they're technically the same song. There's just different variations of it. But the rest of the songs, I was like, what the hell is this? Like, I watched the scene where they were bullying Peter Parker, and the song's called Bully by Numbers, and it's just like 2 lines repeated simultaneously. Bully by numbers, bully by.
Oh, God.
It was awful. And I was like, are we going to get back more to the rock that I heard earlier?
Right.
Or are we just going to do like Fisher Price Broadway edition here?
Like
I don't know.
Sesame Street.
Yeah, man. They had the Green Goblin doing like a piano solo about a flat in Manhattan. And I was like, well, we're entering this weird territory where this might as well be like Disney on Ice. I don't know what's happening. I've done my fair share of educational theater or children's theaters on tours, and no disrespect to them, but you know, at least they had a little more structure in the music than what I was hearing here. I don't know.
So the Stadium Rockers would eventually dismiss nearly all of the songs that they heard on those CDs, which could be why the songs they wrote for Turn Off the Dark sounded less like catchy show tunes than vaguely angst-ridden minor key U2 B-sides. Berger, who was brought in to co-write the book with Taymor in 2005, is quick to defend his comrades. Quote, every artist has to figure out what they're responding to and take it from there. But still, if you're staging a Spider-Man musical, it's probably not ideal to have a director who isn't keen on Spider-Man comics and 2 composers who aren't keen on musicals. Duh. This article was written like stand-up comedy. It was fantastic. Check out my sources. So let's talk about the technology that led to the pinata situation, which drew the team's attention away from what Berger describes as some massive holes in the script.
Okay.
The comic's signature sequence of web spinning and wall crawling were recreated using computer-controlled cables and winches. But developing the machinery was a long and laborious process, and the results were only marginally less dangerous than arm wrestling with Dr. Octopus. Whoa.
Oh, my goodness.
During the first preview, a carabiner was hurriedly unclipped from a cable and dropped on the head of Natalie Mendoza, who is the actress who played Arachne, leaving her concussed.
Oh, my gosh.
We actually had that happen in Into the Woods, too. The clip that held Cinderella's dress came flying in the middle of this beautiful scene at the end of Act 1 when everyone came in, and it smacked our narrator in the back of the head and he bled.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. Saturday Night Live even parodied the show with a sketch about a law firm that specialized in Spider-Man-related workplace injuries.
That's messed up. I'm going to have to check that out.
The front cover cartoon for The New Yorker in January 2011 depicted a hospital ward full of battered and bandaged Spider-Men. And this wasn't the kind of publicity that the producers were hoping for. So if the broken bones weren't demoralizing enough, the technology was insanely expensive. $1 million gadget was built to lower a web over the audience for the grand finale, only to be scrapped when the effect didn't come off the way they had hoped. Meanwhile, the largest theater on Broadway was being refurbished to fit in all the notoriously unreliable hardware. When the show was eventually up and running, operating costs would be $1.1 million a week. Just to break even, it would have had to sell out every performance for 4 years straight. And on the basis of the reviews, that never seemed likely. I mean, at what point do you cut your losses and just stop what you're doing?
That's crazy. I mean, you have some of the top shows out right now making over $1 million. You know, Hamilton was making like over $1 million a week. I think Wicked's back to doing that. Michael Jackson musical is making 1.5 a week. The cost on those shows is significantly lesser than the Spider-Man. Like,
this is to break even. This isn't making a profit.
That's just to break even. That's insane.
It's unsustainable. Obviously, it's just way over their heads.
And again, like you said, the theaters are naturally smaller because like when I went to see the show, it was sold out. It was full. But the thing is that you can only seat so many people within there. And that's why I was like, this needs to be within a bigger venue. I don't know. The show was just the Frankenstein's monster of Broadway because it was just like a slapstick collection of just, we want to be musical theater with a little rock. We don't give a damn about what's the story of Spider-Man is, but we're going to add in all of this new stuff. And again, Julie Taymor just stuck to her guns. You mentioned the Psalm of Spider-Man. I didn't read that, but the author of that initially years ago when Reddit was still like booming and this is where people go to vent about things, he actually went on Reddit and created a whole thread of like, ask me anything. I'm the co-creator of Spider-Man. And he was very open and candid about everything going on and where he thinks it fails. But he did mention some interesting things. He said, like, for instance, the whole Arachne concept. Julie Taymor didn't want to back down. Ultimately, her ending was supposed to be this huge grand battle with Spider-Man, but she had already blew the budget by over like a couple $1 million. So they were like, you can't do this. So the whole play leads up to this essential battle, which happens. It never happens in a manner that it's supposed to happen. No. And like the whole time we were watching the show, our spider mentor, because she's like, you're a Spider-Man, I'm a spider person. Let me help you achieve your potential.
Lame.
Yeah.
So although the producers kept delaying press night as they battled to make the plot clearer and the stunts safer, impatient critics simply bought their tickets and sharpened their knives. Hadley Freeman in The Guardian called the show baffling in its ineptitude. The aerobatics were no more spectacular than any cut-price circus, and the music was deadening in its mediocrity, tuneless and forgettable. That is a painful review. Ben Brantley in the New York Times agreed that the songs blur into a sustained electronic twang of varying volume, like a persistent headache. So when these reviews were printed in February 2011, Berger was feeling a bit like a live Spider-Man pinata himself, which I could totally understand.
I can get that, yeah.
His once close-knit band of collaborators was fragmenting into those who still believed in Taymor's mystical take on the material, and those who suspected that she was suffering from an artistic form of megalomania. Berger said, as a writer, I was fascinated by watching this little group disintegrate from lack of trust and lack of conviction. What the reviews did was turn up the dial on the heat lamps. More and more, I had this image of an experiment on what stress does to rats in a cage.
Oh, there you go.
Pretty accurate. So in March of 2011, Julie Taymor was replaced by the more pragmatic director, Philip William McKinley. A new choreographer was hired, and Berger himself had to share his credit with another writer, Roberto Aguirre Sacasa. When the revamped version finally opened, 7 months after the first preview, its mood had been lightened, its structure had been streamlined, and Arachne's role had been reduced. Thank the heavens. Turn Off the Dark had turned off its darkness. The reviews were kinder, and the show ran until January 2014. But it never recouped its money or repaired its reputation. At the very moment that Marvel superhero films were conquering global cinema, the first Marvel superhero musical was crashing down to earth. The show's fraught behind-the-scenes story came to seem like an archetypical narrative to Berger, too. It was only after the dust had settled that I realized that the arc of it really fit with the themes that I had been writing about in my fiction for years. It really fascinates me when grandiose ideas fall short. I find that really endearing, to have this vision and then to do battle against reality to try to bring this intangible thing into the tangible world. It's just such a lovely thing to make humans human. To put it in the most Pollyanna-ish way, it was truly a gift to have gone through every moment of it. When you're a young writer, you think, oh, I should be working on an oil rig, or I should be getting real-life experiences so I can write about them later. Well, this was such a hefty experience that I can draw on it for years to come.
I'm sure you could. Yeah. I am sure.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's got to be tough for this to be the thing that kind of, no matter what else you've done, kind of defines your career. But just because you failed doesn't mean that it was necessarily bad.
Right. I mean,
if you're going to look at something as like an experience, the process of problem solving and creating and finding from the beginning to the end, even though it might have been bad, it's still an awesome thing to experience.
100%. I agree with that. And I mean, not for nothing, the show was a failure for a lot of reasons, but the creativity that was there, I feel like that's an unspoken thing. The boldness that it tried to do did start to pave the way for that newer performative type of Broadway shows that we are starting to see. Like, I feel like this is the Wicked Stepchild. Like, I feel like, everybody likes to use it as the punching bag, but essentially again, they took such bold chances. And what I did enjoy about the musical, I guess, in essence, is, that's when we started hitting that phase. I mean, we had like Spring Awakening. We had all these shows where it was less traditional Broadway and it was just more performative. Like even the Green Day musical, things like that. It's just like, now we got singers.
Those rock musicals have always captivated their audience. The most relatable music that you can go watch, like The Drowsy Chaperone, and want to put your head through a wall. But you could go see Rent, rock musicals that are just stellar. The soundtrack for Spring Awakening is like hands down one of my favorite things that I've ever listened to ever.
Right.
And
that's the thing. I'm not saying Spider-Man is as creative as Spring Awakening. I'm not saying that, but I am saying Spring Awakening, Green Day, all of that stuff happened first, and then Spider-Man came out. And I feel like Spider-Man definitely pushed the envelope more into performative theater and just like large concepts. And people learned from the mistakes of Spider-Man to kind of really harness now what needs to happen. Because like, for argument's sake, like Groundhog Day, the musical, that came out like a year or two later. I was so against that musical. I went to see it set wise. It was on a whole other level. During previews, it had a couple jams with the mechanics of the clock and things like that. But once they smoothed that out, it's like they were like, let's look at Spider-Man, but make it slightly more feasible to obtain on a stage.
Yep.
So Spider-Man, whether it's a failure or not, it still helps within the realms of Broadway at the time that it was transitioning, because it is a good lesson on what you could have if you do it correctly. So
yeah, and like we said, I feel like if they would have tried to stand this up at a residency in a Cirque du Soleil kind of arena environment, this could have been very successful. But it's already got a bad reputation.
Yeah, so it's done with.
Yeah,
it's done with. And for those of you who, because some people don't know this exists. My girlfriend Peyton, she had no clue about this Spider-Man musical. One day she heard my playlist. She's like, "Are you listening to U2?" I'm like, "Nah, this is just a Bono song from Spider-Man the musical." She's like, "There was a musical?" I'm like, "Let me tell you the tragic tale of this musical." And I may or may not have shown her a full video of the musical that may or may not have been on YouTube. You guys take a look. You let me know if there's something there or not. I saw the show live when they had rebranded it as 2.0. But yeah, I'm sure you could look for clips online at stuff and see what it was. It's the only thing I can compare it to is if you watched Hawkeye, that Disney show with Jeremy Renner, and there's a scene in there where they're paying tribute to Avengers. He takes his daughter to see at it's called Rogers, as in Steve Rogers, a musical. And it's this big show-stopping number with actual Broadway veterans within it as well. And it's like showing the Avengers, taking down Loki and them like from the first film. But it's so intentionally bad. Even though music-wise is good, it just makes you think of Spider-Man.
It's awesome. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's the story of Turn Off the Dark, the Spider-Man Broadway musical that became an epic failure. But I think it's a story worth telling.
Definitely. That got us stuck in my head, but.
Okay, what do you have, my friend?
I know I'm usually ultra dark and gloomy. I figured gotta change it up every now and again.
Yes.
I still might be a little dark. We'll see. But I'm coming to you about Oh Hugh, How Could You? And it's not Hugh Hefner. It's another very prominent Hugh. His name is Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant. I have like a strange childhood crush on Hugh Grant from some of the movies that came out in the 90s.
Some people do. And, I don't know. I don't think I was ever really a Hugh Grant fan. And then as I got older, and I guess I could go back to there's one film everybody universally loves.
Which
right?
one?
Love Actually.
Mm-hmm.
I was a huge fan of that. But other than that, I never cared for Hugh Grant. But then I guess as I got older, I started watching his stuff. And I'm like, he's good. He's good. I guess he was the original British actor that was just introducing that Brit dry humor that, I don't know. He's a decent looking guy, charming guy, I guess. And he's just
charming. He's
just so dry.
Super duper British.
Yeah. He's as British as they come in these films.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about him today and some trouble he may have gotten into. For those who don't know, Hugh Grant was a famous British actor who got his start in acting in the 80s before he rose to fame in the 90s and 2000s, like we were just saying. So although he was able to appear in his first movie in 1982, he was unable to find consistent work until probably about 5 years later, which forced him to take up random odd jobs here and there to get by.
Like the best of us.
Yeah, like the best of us. Survival jobs. If you
I used
tried
to be
do
the Easter Bunny in the middle of the mall. I used to photograph snotty little kids on Santa's lap, you know.
Exactly. I would just take random like part-time jobs, or like if we were still in college, some people would have me record their textbook chapters, like stuff like that, like survival jobs.
Record their textbook chapters, like reading it out loud?
Yeah, John Shivers, may he rest in peace.
Oh, John Shivers!
He used to pay
John.
me per chapter to read his textbooks, and it's not like his theater classes stuff, like his actual core curriculum stuff.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He was the best.
Yeah.
I didn't know he did that. That's so funny and adorable. And he got the voice, Justin. I told you. You got the voice.
Thank you. He started me there. He got me on the path.
There you go.
Once you started to land more consistent roles in the film industry, he was quickly able to establish himself as one of the premier English actors of his generation. Like, not just of that time, but his whole generation. So he appeared in so many blockbuster movies over the course of his career, such as Love Actually. Everybody needs to see that damn film. Like, I mean, when you talk 90s and rom-coms, it's a quintessential rom-com.
I mean, okay, so I'm going to probably get a lot of backlash for this.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Do it.
I've seen Love Actually, but I don't feel as nostalgic as almost everyone else I've ever spoken to about this movie feels.
Well, I don't
Am I broken on the inside?
you're not broken on the inside, because like that's the thing. Like I didn't have nostalgia for it when it first came out. It really wasn't something that necessarily appealed to me. But I don't know. Once I hit my 20s and I went back and watched it, I'm like, all right, I can get it a little better now. But that's the thing about Hugh Grant for me. There's something about him. Like, he's just such a, I don't know what the word I want to use. I was about to say passable person. Like, I could flick a channel and if a Hugh Grant movie's on, I'm indifferent. He's indifferent. Yeah, my tastes are so indifferent when it comes to this guy. But
I might need to watch this movie as like a full-grown adult.
Yeah, watch it as a full-grown adult,
yeah.
and then you're gonna be like motherfucking Andrew Lincoln, aka Rick Grimes from Walking Dead. You're gonna be like, he was the man. He was in it, but you had what, Sienna Miller? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Crazy cast. I know. But yeah, for some reason, I don't seem to love or don't remember loving this movie the way everyone else does. But yeah, I'll keep you all posted. I'll go back and take a watch.
Yeah, it's good. Like if I had to put it like within a maybe top 10 category of 90s rom-coms, it might be bottom tier of that. But I mean, I'm not gonna put it top 5 or top 3, damn sure not. It's worthy of being on some list. Okay. But he also did music and lyrics, and he did the movie About a Boy. And then a lot of people later on, they know him from Bridget Jones' Diary, the whole franchise of that.
Hold on, there's a movie that I specifically remember him in that you didn't name, so I just want to make sure that.
Let's hear it. These were like the films that stood out where he was like the romantic, goofy, very British lead.
4 Weddings and a Funeral.
There we go, 4 Weddings.
Notting Hill. That's the one I was thinking of. Julia Roberts.
Notting Hill. Okay, yes, I forgot about that one.
Hold on. There's more. 9 Months.
See, those are films where you just name them and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I guess he was in there.
Like, I'm indifferent. I don't even care or remember to care.
I mean, for those of you that are younger than us, and I'm already jealous, I mean, in the 90s, there was so many rom-coms where to the point where there is no such thing as a bad rom-com. It's just we had some of the best directors back then, Nora Ephron. Mm-hmm. We had all of these people making high-tier rom-coms to the point where, by comparison, some just aren't as memorable, or some might have seemed like a weaker stock compared to them. But when you watch them now, you're like,
especially the 90s, you had like Freddie Prinze Jr. in like every rom-com, and you can't beat a Freddie rom-com from the 90s.
You definitely can't. And then by like proxy, Paul Walker was like in all of the Freddie Prinze rom-coms as well. And it was a rom-com for everything. It could be like
Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, Josh
in those
Hartnett.
days.
You know, you had the Meg Ryan era where she was doing her thing. But there was a rom-com for everybody. It's like you're trying to find yourself in high school. Check out Can't Hardly Wait as you're entering college. You're a 30-year-old something who decided to randomly uproot your whole life and start from the beginning and hope to find love. Look at Sleepless in Seattle. Yeah. Oh, you want to enter the digital age? Here's a rom-com for you. Two old ass people getting used to the internet. It's called You've Got Mail.
You've Got Mail? Like, two old ass people. You had 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. It's an unending list. But Notting Hill I really loved. And I remember really loving 9 Months. And Music and Lyrics. Music and Lyrics was a really good one.
Music and Lyrics I did enjoy. 9 Months. Who was he in with that? Was that Renee Zellweger again? Or was it? Oh, it was Julianne Moore. Oh, okay.
Yes. See, Julianne Moore. I see the rewrite with Marissa Tomei. He was so cute. Look, 1987. Look how freaking adorable he is. He's so cute.
He was a very adorable guy. And I see there's some angst in there. I don't know.
He's got that brooding thing that I like that men do.
Yeah.
Pointy nose, brooding, pouting, whatever.
That look says, I'm going to make you laugh. Very terribly so. Like, that's all I saw that picture.
I'm a little angsty, but I'm also hilarious.
But look at all those names you named. Like, he was in rom-coms with essentially like all of the top women of the 90s. Julia Roberts, Julianne Moore, Renee Zellweger,
Marissa Tomei. I mean, he's got a hell of a lineup of ladies from the 90s.
Yeah, so if you've never seen a single one of his films, you got homework.
You didn't even know, but you've definitely seen it.
Yeah, you either didn't know and you definitely saw it, or if you truly have not seen any of his films and you're one of those people that I run into every now and again that's like, I don't do rom-coms, well, start doing them and go back. And your homework is to watch one of his films. Essentially, he's just well known for all of these leading roles solely from romantic comedies. It's all he was doing back then. That was the majority of his career.
Definitely.
With all of that said, let's go ahead and dive right into the story that I'm going to bring to you regarding an incident that may or may have not gotten him arrested and what it involves. Okay. So Hugh Grant, he was born in White City District of London, England on the 9th of September as the second son out of 2 children that his family had. But both of his parents came from families with a military background, with his paternal grandfather being a decorated World War II colonel known for his leadership and bravery on the battlefield.
Colonel. Oh, that's
some high level shit. And
it sure is. Yeah. And he's going to have a father who really grew up in a colonel's home, which is saying a lot.
Very militant, very strict.
Yeah.
And it also well, I'll get into that later, but it seems to explain some of that picture you showed, like that angst. It's definitely, I can see in his eyes. It's like, I've, lived a very strict life, but I'm here to live my life and bring you the romance and comedy and my wit. Like, haha. Like, his father served as a Seaforth Highlander in Germany and Malaya for 8 years. He spent his early years growing up in the UK, where he completed his primary and secondary school education before being awarded a scholarship to Oxford University. Like, this guy was legit. He went there, and it makes sense now, half the roles he played. I never knew this about him, but he got that scholarship to Oxford to study English literature. And I'm like, he is so... I should have known. Yeah.
He's the kind of man who reads poetry.
Yes. So it was during that time he decided to join Oxford University Dramatic Society as a way, him to pursue his creative outlet. And through that involvement, he was able to land his first acting role in the movie Privileged, which was produced and released Oxford University Film Foundation back in 1982. So that's when it all began for him. In the years right after he made that movie appearance in college, Hugh Grant went on to work a variety of different odd jobs. Like I was saying before, he was like an assistant groundskeeper for the Fulham soccer team.
Really?
Yeah,
that's a big thing in the UK to be.
I want to know how he got that job. How do you apply for that? Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to have some serious experience with soccer turfs. Football in the UK is their thing, and Fulham is a big team. It's a Premier League team. That's cool. Fun fact.
That's one hell of an odd job. Like I feel like I shouldn't even term that as an odd job because that sounds like some real cool, prestigious shit. Like,
no, that's a weird fucking job to have. It's just random. Like if you're not a person who's like a groundskeeper in your life period and you've studied grass and turf growth and all these things, then yeah, it's just another weird fucking thing that you do as an actor.
Yeah, seriously. And he wrote comedy sketches too back then for different TV shows and tutoring, just to name a few of them. Like those were his odd jobs. So he went from groundskeeper for Fulham soccer team to freaking over here writing sketch comedies and then just tutoring people randomly. I'm assuming in English literature. So he had some revenues of survival jobs and money.
A pretty cute tutor to have. That's frightening. That's dangerous.
My brain just flashed back to The Simpsons and I'm like, oh my God, I never knew this was based off of him. I think he voiced it too. There was an episode where they went to the carnival and Lisa went to like a fortune teller and they were telling her like the story of when she finds her first love. And
how
it's in
do
the
you
future.
Only pick the episodes of The Simpsons that I freaking remember? Talk about.
So you know what it's about? I'm pretty sure Hugh Grant voiced it, and they were going to school for literature, and then he like met the family. He was repulsed by them. It's a whole thing. So I'm like, this is too funny.
Hilarious.
Even that animation of him even matched like his charming quirkiness.
Mm-hmm. They always nailed it. Always, but yes.
Simpsons did it whenever it comes to anything. Simpsons did it. But yeah, during his screening of Privileged at BAFTA in London, because it got premiered at the BAFTA Awards, he was approached by a talent agent who made an offer to represent him as an actor based on his performance solely in that film. So at first, he actually declined. He was like, no, I'm not going to take this offer. Because he wanted to fully continue his education and become like English literature, professor, things of that nature. So he also wanted to go after Oxford to pursue his master's in philosophy at Cordiad Institute within London. So, however, he declined the agent's offer the first time around. He ended up reconsidering and taking the offer later on because he thought that he would be able to save up enough money to pay for his education through a year of acting, which I don't blame him. It's like light bulb. It's like, if I'm already generating this attraction, it's premiering at BAFTA, it's doing all these things. I guess I could, do one or two projects.
Of course, there's the actors who like kill themselves trying to get an agent and then they don't get it.
And then there's the few where it just falls on their lap.
I don't really know if I want that, but yeah, maybe for a year I'll try it.
This guy,
he's Hugh Grant. Now we're talking about him on a podcast.
Now we're talking about him on a podcast. But even he apparently was indifferent. He's like, I guess I could do it. I guess I could just take this on for a year, make some money.
There you go. That makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. Once he just, changed his mind and did that, it was not too long right after he started to get a few minor roles like within TV productions, and he was able to get his first leading role in a romantic British drama called Maurice, where he got to work with a cast that included other famous English actors at the time, such as Ben Kingsley and Denholm Elliott. And from there, he was able to land even more consistent roles in movies as the years went on by. And by the 90s, he had become one of the premier actors for the decade. Yeah.
I mean, Ben Kingsley is like, he's high up there.
He's very high up there. Damn sure. And, by then he had already like played Gandhi and won the Oscar for that. So like, if you're in a film with Ben Kingsley, all eyes are on you.
Right.
That went down. Ultimately, what happened is this guy won a Golden Globe in 1994 for his performance in Four Weddings and a Funeral. And that helped catapult him into superstardom. Like now he's transcending from just being British actor to like worldwide actor, worldwide icon. Right. He's got all this appeal. It was during his rise to fame, started dating famous British actress model Elizabeth Hurley.
Oh, she's gorgeous.
I have to take a moment as I say her name because damn.
You love her.
I do. I mean, for those of you who don't know who Elizabeth Hurley is, first off, I'm in shock as much as you that apparently she had been around since 1987 and I did not know her damn existence.
That she was that old?
I didn't know of her existence until, practically 1997 when she was Vanessa in Austin Powers, an International Man of Mystery.
Yes.
That's when I knew her. That's when the whole world knew her. That's when we all couldn't stop looking at her. I mean, she was ridiculously beautiful, great comedic timing, but oh my goodness, what sealed the deal for all of us, that brought her to like international fame. And what sealed the deal was this little film. It was late 99, maybe it was 2000. It was a remake of a Dudley Moore film. It was called Bedazzled. You know, she was in it with someone, you might be familiar with him. His name was Brendan Fraser. No one too big. The film was a remake, and it was about a man down on his luck who wishes he can have things, and he meets the devil.
He's going to make a deal with the devil to have a life that he wants. And she plays
the devil.
Yeah. Yep.
One of the most sexy devils I've ever seen. But yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But yes, everybody rewatched that film more than once. Some of us watched it for Elizabeth Hurley. Some of y'all watched it for Brendan Fraser. Like, it is what it is.
Fair.
Brendan Fraser was at his peak.
Agreed. Yeah, he was.
And even to this day, you can follow her on Instagram. She hasn't aged. She's beautiful. Her son looks like a model as well. It's kind of crazy. But I digress. But my thing is, Hugh Grant, like we said, a very indifferent person. He's very good looking in his own right. You have been with her since 1987, and we just never knew about this. We never knew about her.
He was dating her since 87?
Correct.
It looks like they starred in Mickey Blue Eyes together.
Yeah, they were dating since 87. That's when they started dating. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So yeah, they started Mickey Blue Eyes together. But yeah, it was during that time in 87, like he started dating her. They first met on the set of a Spanish film called Ramondo al Viento in 1987. She was able to land the role of Claire Clement, the former lover of Hugh Grant's character. Lord Byron in the movie, he was Lord Byron in the movie, despite being relatively unknown at the time. And their relationship, quickly took off during and after the movie had concluded production. Over the years, the couple had gained attention from international tabloids, and media followed their initial encounter during the shooting of Ramondo al Viento. However, their relationship was in the spotlight for the wrong reason. 1995.
Okay. We got to pause for a second.
Yeah.
I just looked up Elizabeth Hurley's Instagram because I'd never thought to do that before. And you're telling me that this woman is 57 years old.
Right? I know.
What?
Oh
my God.
It messed me up. I didn't even know she had an Instagram until like the news last year. They were like, oh, Elizabeth Hurley stuns people again on her Instagram. I'm like, what? And I looked at this Instagram. Of course, it's millions of followers. And I'm just like, did she age? And I did my homework.
The answer is no. She did not age.
She did not age. And I made sure to do my homework. I'm like scrubbing through the history of her Instagram. Because listen.
You're like, how old are these pictures?
Yeah, how old are these pictures? And are they heavily filtered? The answer is they are not old. They are not heavily filtered.
Is that her son?
Yeah, that's her son. Look at that.
He's very androgynous looking.
Yes.
He's beautiful. He was at Versace and Fendi with Donatella Versace.
And I'm pretty sure he models now, too.
I mean, of course he does.
Her photos, yeah, she's 57. She does not look it. I'm just, yeah.
I mean, no, if she looks a day over 35, I'm floored.
Yeah, I want to know what her secret is.
Sold her soul to the devil. She must have. 57. You fucking liar. She looks not a day past Bedazzled, which was in 99.
I know. She just doesn't age.
Wow. Okay. Yep. Super jealous.
Super jealous. And, life happens. We're all in happy relationships.
We are. We are. But those happy relationships lead you to be maybe just a little chubby.
A little chubby. I'm okay
I'm
with
in shape.
it.
I'm in shape. But
I'm
it's
okay
just
with it.
Circles are shapes, right?
Ridiculous. So, yeah, back in July 14th, 1995, Hugh Grant was in the process of launching his Hollywood film 9 Months. And when he watched the movie post-production for the first time just a few weeks before it released, he felt that everyone else in the cast did a great job, but thought that his performance in the film was so bad that it put him in a disgruntled state of mind, which some felt was just a scapegoat for him to act maybe potentially irresponsibly at the time. So after he was feeling so disappointed in his performance in the movie, he ended up having what he claimed to be a Ken Russell kind of lunch, air quotes. And,
what does that mean?
Oh,
a who Russell?
Ken Russell. Yeah.
Ken Russell?
Ken Russell kind of lunch. And he proceeded to hire a sex worker to have oral sex with him in a car for $60. They both ended up getting caught and arrested that night on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles for indecent conduct and exposure.
He literally...
He watched his own film. He felt that he didn't do that great, and he was in such a foul mood
that he needed a blue jay to go get a prostitute for $60.
Correct.
He couldn't go to a bar and pick a chick up.
I mean, first off, he's still with Elizabeth Hurley. Who the fuck is cheating on Elizabeth Hurley? I don't know. I don't know who the fuck you are cheating on Elizabeth Hurley.
Was she around? Like, was she there?
Oh,
was
yeah.
she in a different country?
No. She was there. She was there at the premiere.
He like left her and was like, I need to go.
He left her. He's like, I need to clear my head. And he went and got head. Like that was.
Wow. That makes no sense.
It blows my fucking mind. And he sticks to this day when he's explaining everything. But, you know, my thing is like, and I don't condone cheating, but usually if these people are cheating, it's to like seek comfort elsewhere. You felt like you did a piss poor job. I would think naturally you would talk to Elizabeth Hurley and see if she can like comfort you, not sexually, just like motivation, kind of get your spirits up.
Emotionally, yeah.
Emotionally support you. But instead you're like, fuck emotional support. I'm just going to get a prostitute and I'm just going to do something with them. It's not like he paid her and was like talking to her about the film and his performance and sobbing or anything. He went about his business and just fucking cheated on his girl. Like that was, I don't know.
This is just one of those sorry excuses. Like, oh, I didn't do well in that movie, so I'm going to go cheat on Elizabeth Hurley, which makes no sense. But the concept of like less of a man, so he needs to have sex with a woman he doesn't know, is lost on me. I don't understand where that fixes things or makes you feel better.
It's so weird. And again, you got together 1987. It's now 1995. You've been together for 8 years. There's other issues happening with your relationship. Okay, work it out. But and this is the thing, because he always goes back to it. He's like, it's just with that film and a few other films, I felt that I wasn't doing my best as a performer versus everyone else. And it just continued to weigh down on me. Okay, well, it continued to weigh down on you. There's other ways to alleviate that.
So go to therapy, you loser.
Go to therapy or get an acting coach. Do what you got to do. It was just weird as fuck.
Dude, go drink too much in your own basement and cry about it. Like there's like 50 other things you could have done that were not productive. And would have maybe been just as ridiculous as this, but this is hurting people.
I personally feel like he's using that as an excuse. I felt like in my heart of hearts, Hugh Grant was like, I'm just British enough to pull this fucking excuse off. And I think that's what really happens.
To me, it just sounds like just a lame excuse.
Right.
Like the movies was the excuse. He was going to go get the blowjob from the girl anyway. He just called it. The cause being that he thought he sucked in his movie or what the fuck ever.
Or maybe, you know, this is part of now his PR spin. Maybe he's a mastermind. He's like, if I use this as an excuse, everybody will feel sympathy for me instead of chastise me for cheating on Elizabeth Hurley. Like,
blow it out your ass. Don't like those stupid excuses.
I bet you didn't see that coming though, because the look on your face when I finally got to, you're like, what the fuck?
I did not, and I don't know the story, and I had that. Nope.
So in the aftermath of his arrest, Hugh Grant pled no contest and was ordered to pay around $1,000 in fines. Again, celebrities, they're not paying much. Additionally, he was instructed to perform 5 days of community service, pay another $1,150 for a parole violation of previous offense. I don't know what his previous offense was. I didn't know he had them.
On it.
Yeah, you take a look at that. I feel like I tried to look at it before and it was something so random. Like, was it trespassing? But you could tell me what it was.
My thing is with this whole scenario is that there's people who have sex with sex workers all over the place that don't get caught.
Yeah.
How did you get caught? Doesn't go back that far. Like this just overshadows everything else.
Exactly. It's like his past history was scrubbed because I'm like, I never knew he had an issue to begin with. But again, that could have been wiped out because of who his parents are. You never know. That could have been before he was a celebrity.
And he was with Tom Arnold.
Oh Lord. That kind of partially explains some things. Tom Arnold. I like him as a comedian. I like him as an actor. He's just a sleazy dude though. But I had this image in my head. Tom Arnold probably saw that shit and he's like, come on, you of all people? Like, Probably had the cowboy hat on, and he's like, "Oh, you knew better."
Says that he was arrested later, so this isn't going to be before. He was arrested later in the UK on a charge of assaulting paparazzi.
Actually, I do vaguely remember that. He punched the paparazzi. He pulled the Sean Penn. Yeah.
Sean Penn, yes.
But yeah, he like I said, ultimately he had to pay that additional fine for the parole violation of a previous offense, and he attended an AIDS education program as another part of his punishment.
AIDS education? HIV?
Yeah, HIV. I'm assuming because they just link prostitutes with having that, which is kind of fucked up in itself. But
this is a whole nother can of worms. It's a
whole other conversation. He apologized for his actions to the public, claiming that he was very sorry for hurting and embarrassing the people that he loved the most. The prostitute that was caught with him, Divine Brown, she was sentenced to 100 days in prison after pleading no contest to lewd conduct charges and for violating her probation for previous prostitution charges that were imposed on her in the past.
Okay. So, I mean, if you're violating your probation and you go to jail for 100 days, that makes sense.
So despite his frustrations with his performance in the movie, of course, it actually performed quite well at the box office. And it was released just 2 weeks after his incident.
What movie was it?
It was 9 months.
It was 9 months?
Yeah. It was 9 months. So I feel like I'm like, man, did he really just self-destruct, or did he pull a bold PR move? Like, I don't understand.
I mean, but that movie's kind of wholesome. That's him and his wife are having a baby. Like, you don't want, that's not the kind of PR you want before a movie like that.
True.
Because it'll taint how people perceive you through that fourth wall. It's just a pathetic man thing that happened. I feel like it's just, that's what it is. It can't be a PR move. That's a bad PR. He needs a new PR.
Well, I think it's bad PR. I think he didn't mean to get caught, but once he got caught, I feel like the excuse was to help his image. And he's just like, oh, my performance is so terrible. And everybody's like, oh, Hugh, let's take a look at that. Oh, you did wonderful. Pat on the back. We're going to forget about your prostitute issues. Yeah, it performed really well. It debuted number 3 at the box office back then when it first came out. It got like 12.5 million on its opening weekend, and it grossed over 138 million worldwide. Some even believe that the scandal, like I was saying, may have actually helped boost his performance at the box office because of the notoriety it helped bring the movie prior to the release. Although it may have had a negative impact on Hugh Grant's reputation shortly after the events had transpired, there's no question that it helped bring attention to the film's release, even if it wasn't necessarily the attention he wanted.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like, hey, do you remember Hugh Grant? He did this thing. Oh, he also has a movie that just came out.
Yeah.
It made him the talking point, whether good or bad.
But he's just one of those guys, too. I feel like when it came out that he did what he did, people probably didn't even believe it. They're like, Hugh Grant, that charming British guy, a little boring, little indifferent. I can't see it.
Why would he? He's with Elizabeth Hurley. It must be a lie.
All I know is, as for his relationship with Elizabeth Hurley, they still remained together after the arrest for several years. They didn't call it quits until 2000. Okay.
You never know what people have agreed upon in their relationships.
Yeah. And around 2000, I mean, again, she had Austin Powers, and at the beginning of 2000 or end of 99, you could say it was Bedazzled. That looks like when she thought her career might take off further. Now she probably was like, we've done enough together. Yep. I deserve better. I'm still baffled that Elizabeth Hurley had been with him since 87. I'm still baffled at the fact that someone as radiant as her didn't cross over to US or international fame until the late 90s. How did you go like...
Could have been living in his shadow, essentially.
You're right.
You know?
She could have been in his shadow. She could have just been there to help support him. And then after that BS, it was like, nope, I'm out.
Yep.
They called it quits in 2000, and they remained very close friends even after the relationship had ended. He's like the godfather for her kid.
Weird.
Yeah.
That's pretty weird. It's weird.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. But there's no denying that his arrest in 1995 left a bad mark on the remainder of their time together. But like I said, they were still good enough on terms to where Grant was chosen to be the godfather of her son, Damien, who was born in 2002, just 2 years after they had ended the relationship together. That's even more weird. 2 years after we ended it, now you're the godfather of my child. I don't have one ex that I could think of that I would be like, yes, be the godfather to my child. It seems like an inappropriate role. Yeah, it definitely does. To each their own. It definitely does. And Hugh went on to have 5 children of his own from 2 different women and got married to Swedish. Yeah, 5 kids. That's a lot of kids. That's a lot of kids, but it's between 2 different women. And he got married to Swedish TV producer Anna Eberstein in May of 2018.
In New York came out. TV producer.
Producer, Long Island.
Long Island.
New York.
TV producer.
TV producer. He's going to make you famous. But yeah, that is the tale of oh Hugh, how could you? Like,
how could you is
such a random.
He's just stupid. He's just stupid. That was a stupid move by a stupid man.
Just own it.
Yeah. Be like, yeah, I'm an idiot.
be like, I fucking hated my performance, but I hated my relationship too. And I just was, it is what it is. Just own it if that was the case. Because again, it's hard to predict what was going on there. It looks like it's partly self-destructive, but on a flip side, I'm like, I just don't buy the excuse of I felt so terrible about some of my recent acting performances that I'm just going to go cheat. Within that statement, it would have been different if you told me Hugh Grant was having like a 5-month affair with the same prostitute. That's a little different for me because then there seems to be a little emotional tie there. And perhaps, you know, he was going to her for emotional support, which turned sexual. But no, you just driving around by. I thought I should just get a random prostitute and that's that.
My personal opinion is that this doesn't have fuck all to do with the movie.
Not at all.
This is a bros night out. Him and Tom Arnold got way too fucking drunk, celebrating their movie coming out, and he just did something shitty. Like I don't think they actually correlate. I think it's just a bullshit excuse that he tagged on the end of it. Way to go, Hugh Grant.
Way to go. So, I mean, all I really got to say about that is when you're looking at events from the past, it's important to keep that perspective, the factors and circumstances that led to them to transpire, you know? So sometimes there's always a certain moment in our lives that trigger us to do things that we wouldn't normally have done based on the emotional reaction. And I use air quotes in this particular scenario, you know, it brings out of us. In certain instances, it may even lead people to do things that are against the law, regardless of how famous they are. We're here to continue to bring you all the details and stories behind some of the most infamous crimes in the history of the arts and entertainment. When you look back at the history of the creative arts, it takes a lot of darkness to create the light the arts bring to the world.
Thanks for joining us this week. And if you enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and go over to Apple Podcasts to rate and review.
Please check out our sources listed in the episode notes.
And you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Crime of the Arts Podcast.
We're looking forward to having you back next week. Until next time, peace out, everybody.
Peace out, everybody.